Welcome to the How to Heal podcast, the show where we explore real life stories and practical tools to thrive. I'm your host, Lindsay Tremarky Richter, and through over a 15-year journey of all things healing, I'm here to hook it up. If you're feeling overwhelmed, looking for a deeper connection, or straight up in a psycho-spiritual crisis, I got you covered. Let's unearth your unique elixir to purpose, peace, and progress. Here we go. Hey guys. So today we're talking about emotional energetics and how that lends into the previous two episodes I issued on physical and mental energetics. And when it comes to emotional, it's really not about how it looks, it's about how it feels. And that concept is like a tsunami wave of emotion in itself. Because for me, for so long, I was so focused on how things looked so that I didn't have to be faced with how things felt. Because as long as everybody was validating that it looked good, it must have felt good. It must have been good. But lo and behold, that was not the case. So I'm going to talk quickly about physical and how the emotional energetics relate to physical. Um, I want to just reference this book by Libby Weaver called Rushing Women's Syndrome. It was a quick read and it was a good read, but it basically talks about how women in particular are conditioned to constantly care and nurture other people and how that wreaks havoc on our health. And what made me think about this book is just the fact that, like, when we're constantly doing for others and we're constantly physically doing for others, we can't possibly be in our own bodies and knowing how we feel. So, one way to really get in touch with how you feel physically and emotionally through your physicality is through somatic experiencing. And somatics and somatic healing is like a very popular buzzword in trauma therapy right now. And it's not even a buzzword, it's just a practice that's like deeply significant because we're finally coming to terms with the fact that our bodies do have a story to tell, but that we keep overriding our bodies in the pursuit of the physical gains, of the mental gains, of the status gains, etc. The Body Keeps Score talks about trauma. It's like the Bible of trauma. If you're interested in reading it, I went to a workshop with him and he's fabulous because of the level of just the idea and inclination that we have fear and trauma stored in our body when we are unable to move. So when we experience a traumatic experience and we are frozen in fear or unable to move, it creates a trapped emotion that creates physical ailments. So about a year and a half ago, was working out like a lot, too much, really. Doing CrossFit. I was doing Orange Theory like 5 to 7 days a week. And I was holding on to that because it was like grounding me in being um strong and committed to my self-care. But what I realized was my body was like tired and overwhelmed. So I paused my membership for a month and I decided to go into somatic experiencing where I did, I'll tag this in the show notes below as well. The Workout Witch has a really affordable program where she walks you through different physical exercises. It is literally just physical exercises and movements that allow you to get in touch with your body in a slow enough way to process trapped emotions. So I'll link that in the show notes. But what I also did was gua sha. And gua sha is a traditional Chinese healing modality where you use the stone that I used is made, it's called a Bian stone. I hope I'm saying that right, but it's a mineral stone. Um, and it's a black soft stone that's known for its like restorative properties. So removing negative energy, improving circulation, eliminating toxins. So basically I would sit on my bathroom floor during this month, and all the days that I would be going to the gym, instead I sat on my bathroom floor and put oil on my legs and took this stone and ran up and down my muscles with it, talking to myself and just like not talking to myself, but feeling the sensations that I always use my legs to just run through. Um, I have extremely muscular legs, so I was always super strong and never really had to feel my legs because they were strong as hell. I didn't feel anything. Like when I played rugby, it would literally the boys team would always call me like the bus because I literally would have like three girls on me and still running. And it actually feels really sad to say that because I think that it was my way of fighting the emotions, the painful memories, or whatever I just didn't want to feel, I didn't want to be faced with. And I think that that time, that month when I was 41, actually is what attributed me to getting pregnant, like shortly thereafter, because I was allowing my body to rest and I was allowing my body to feel the emotions that were trapped in my body that I had held down for so long. So, the other aspect of this is like when someone is considered mentally unhealthy, it's usually because they're emotionally erratic. So, you go to therapy to address your mental health. But what you're really doing in therapy is addressing your emotional health. And the latest two things that I've found, and it's really one thing, but for mental health is IFS, and I've been talking about this, and I really believe that it's a very liberating form of therapy because it allows you to address your, let's call them emotional, mental issues that come up by yourself when you're not with your therapist. Because what do you do when you're like in a real life situation and can't do it? But basically, you're conversing with yourself or with parts of yourself that were unacknowledged or that showed up because they weren't able to be seen in ways that were productive for you to survive in this world. So, speaking to your inner child, when I was sort of like doing that with the gua sha with my legs, was like addressing like this younger version of me that was invalidated, that was taught to not express emotion, that was taught to, no, 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 Linz, you clean up so you can be loved. Because when we talk about things that are too hard to talk about, people don't want to talk about it. And you're not going to be loved for that. So, you know, and it's so funny as I record this episode, it feels like the whole episode is on the verge of me crying, but we need to talk about these things. And you need to know you're not alone because I think that many of us with boomer parents, at least, like we're taught to suppress our emotions and not forget about validating them. Like, don't feel them. Like, just move on, clean up the mess, and move on. And now we're coming into a paradigm shift where we are no longer able to muscle our way to success. Um, we're entering a place where we really are being faced with the duality of our nature of being both masculine and feminine. And, boys are taught not to cry. Boys are taught not to feel their emotions. Girls are emotional. Girls are nurturing. Like we are all of these things all at once. So we're going from white knuckling, which I know Gabby Bernstein mentioned this, that like she felt like millennials or like older millennials, or I'm not sure what the category is above that, but that they were taught to like white knuckle it into success. But now we're going from forcing to allowing, from planning to trusting. And that is the feminine, the permission of the feminine approach to feel emotions. We're going from being hard and tough to being soft and gentle. And it's not an easy transition because, like, when we're born, we are as soft and gentle as we will ever be. But we go from that to being taught and forced into being hard to now going back to being soft. And it's not an easy transition, but it is a necessary transition. And when we talk about transmuting emotions, so that's the beauty of energetic health, of emotional energetic health, is that when we're transmuting emotions, aka for me, like anger really is a frustration of a lack of my ability to properly channel my passion and creativity. You know, many times when I feel like sadness, it's just a resistance to me feeling present in the moment because I'm coming up against something that maybe I've been fighting for so long that I just don't want to face. And just to be gentle with ourselves. You know, we just have to be gentle with ourselves. We have time. But like to just continue to just drink that other cup of coffee, like muscle through it, like go for a super intense workout, like keep doing that every day in and day out. Like maybe it's time to just give our bodies a rest, to give our mental bodies a rest, and then in order to feel the things that we need to feel to have peace in our bodies and in our minds. I love this quote from Danielle Laporte. And she writes, "You can't grind your way to grace." And it's just so true. I know it can be like disappointing because it's fun sometimes to grind because it takes us away from the emotions that maybe we don't want to experience. And then it, on the other side, shows us a level of satisfaction from the results that we produced. But that's not grace, that's physical success. And it this is a very emotional topic for me because for so long I didn't even realize I wanted grace. I wasn't even able to be in touch with that feeling. I didn't have time for it because I was taught not to care about it. And now, more than ever, we need to be in touch with the emotions that are yearning for us to feel. Because what happens when we don't, when we shun those emotions or we hide from those emotions, they come out in explosive and destructive ways, which, you know, is obvious, but a lot of us just overlook that as a, you know, normality of being human. And yeah, of course it is. But like, how often is it going to happen? How many times are you going to be yelling or whatever with your kids and really rough with yourself or your partner? The goal, I watched this movie with Michael Keaton. I'm forgetting the name of it. Michael Keaton and Mila Kunis. And it's on like Netflix or something right now, Prime. And he talks about he's giving up his art gallery and he talks about one of the keys successes to life is how gently you lived. And that really, really hit me hard because for so long I had not been gentle, especially when I found sports. Like that was my way to be rough and to see success. And then that bled into my career in commercial real estate and being around men all the time and driving to see results. And it's not natural to go, it doesn't feel natural all the time to go from that backwards. But we have to be okay with this process. We have to be open to healing if we want to come to grace and if we want to find peace in our bodies and in our minds. And healing cannot and will not instantaneously occur without facing the little moments along the way. Yeah, there's instantaneous healing. I know there is. I guess, but like what I'm talking about with this show is like let's find the patterns of the moment to moment healing where we actually feel the changes and we feel the shifts so that we can empower ourselves to continue on the path because we have to start doing hard things and healing ourselves and our emotions and our bodies and our mental bodies are the most important responsible things that we can do for our children, our partners, our country, the world. And, it's a place where you can be on track and then you bump off track and then you bump back on and then you bump back off and you there's so many different levels of the healing where it's like, yeah, I got this, no problem. But then you're faced in a moment of insecurity and you're like sort of looking at yourself walking this tightrope. But the sturdiness of your balance or the sturdiness of the train for you to be on the track really depends on how much you trust the the walker or the conductor, how much you trust yourself. And for me, trusting myself came with choosing the right and many, many times hard things to do day in and day out. And it's a gradual built up resilience that only you can do. And I send you all of my love because I think that it's a scary path because it's lonely. And you can't go up and call your friend and be like, oh, yo, I felt these emotions that I haven't felt in so many years. I like relived this situation from when I was like 6. It's like, what? That's not something that we talk about that way. It's a lonely path and no one sees it except you. You witness your successes, your breakthroughs, your ability to nurture yourself on an emotional level. So, this topic is probably the most challenging for me to tell a story from, because I think it's really the crux of where the rubber meets the road and being extremely personal. So, what I'm going to do is tell a story, which is sort of like a theme of things that have happened that are in relation to emotional energetics and emotional health. So many times in relationships, starting from a very early age, when I first had crushes on boys, which I think is extremely common, like girls are imagining something in their head that's not really there. But as I got older, because of my inability to really get in touch with how I was feeling, I intellectualized passion and emotion and connection. And I think certainly a lot of it had karma in play, where these were like karmic relationships that I was in. But the fact was, is the level of reciprocation or just straight up real connection and feeling wasn't there. Like there wasn't enough proof in the pudding for me to feel the way I felt. I went off and I created a story in my mind because of these initial gut instincts, because I was too nearsighted to or farsighted to see what was really going on. And it led to some embarrassing moments. I was an actor. Like so many times, I felt like I was just acting. And it was a way to protect my emotions. So when we don't feel our emotions, we are allowing decay. We are allowing like a soul decay of remembering who we are. So this episode is a little heavy, but I hope it was helpful, because I think that this is the topic that no one wants to talk about. This is the topic that, you call your best friend, "Hey, what's up? How are you?" It's like a 50-50 shot as to whether they're actually going to tell you, "Yeah, I'm completely falling apart." It's not fun to have those conversations, but like keeping it real, we feel these things and we should feel these things. And if we are feeling these things, it means we're on the right track, because it means we're avoiding larger disasters in the future. So stay sane, guys. Stay happy, stay healthy, and I'll see you in the next episode.